Hi folks, in today's Tech Tuesday, I wanted to take a little moment to introduce you to a new feature, or certainly newish feature of various different Google Docs, which is approvals. So if you are ever in the process of writing any policy documents or drafts of emails or correspondence that need to maybe go out to parents, or really any document that's to be used, but for which you want to make sure it's been checked by somebody else. Say, for example, you're writing up your reports and you've got to get a principal teacher to check over them before they get sent on. It's a really useful tool for basically achieving that process of recording that it's been checked and it's approved, and managing what changes are done subsequent to that approval. So if you go into your file and you look down the list here, you'll see that you've got an option called approvals. And this applies in other file types. So if you go into a Google Slides, for example, you can get them approved as well. And when you open up this approvals tab here, hit make a request, you'll be asked to add approvers. So in this case, I'm just going to add a pupil account I can use for doing an approval test. This is, you would probably use your line manager or whoever it was that was responsible for approving. It could be more than one approval. So, for example, if you wanted your deputy and your principal to both approve it, you could add them both. And you can also, if you look down at the bottom, see that you can add a due date for it to be done. So, say I need this to be approved by tomorrow, can put that into there. And we can do a couple of other things like allow the approvers to edit the file. So I'm not going to tick that because I want them to be able to comment on it, but I don't want them to be able to actually change the body of it. Or you could tick it if you wanted them to. You'll see that you can lock the file before sending an approval request, and that basically just means that the file is locked for editing for anyone else who's currently editing it. So when we're happy that we've set all the associated kind of permissions and options here, we can just hit send request. Now, you'll get this wee thing saying someone needs access to the file because at the moment that person has not got the file shared with them. So that person is not party to this file already. So we can change the permissions there. By default, it lets them comment, which is what I want. You could make them also an editor if you wanted to as well. And you can also turn link sharing on, and that would mean that it could be shared with other people in the council for commenting. But I'm just going to share it with this one person. I'm going to hit send here. And that's now been sent out, and you can see that we've got in the approvals tab here, approval pending. We can open that to look at any associated details here about that approval request. Now, if I can skip over to the other account, look in the Gmail here, we'll just see we've got an approval request for this document that's come in. So this is me being the person approving. So I need to open that up, and you'll see that it opens in editing mode, and it won't let me, it opens in suggesting mode. It won't let me edit anything. So it'll let me make suggestions or comments, but it won't let me actually edit the content of the doc. And when I've looked through it, if I'm satisfied that that's all good, I can just hit approve here, and that will then open this up, just saying, yeah, all good, and approve it. And when we've done that, it locks the file because it's assumed at this point that that's the document in its final draft stage and nobody needs to do anything further with it. So if we reload it as the approver, we'll see that the document is locked. And you'll see that I can't go in and I can't change this anymore. So after I've approved it, that's me said, right, that's all good. And I'm not going to be able to make any further changes unless I'm an editor of the document, and I'm not in this case. So going back to my account where I'd created the request for it to be approved. There we go. If I reload it there, we can see at the top of the page, it will tell us that it's locked as well. There we go. It says it's locked up here. But as the editor, I can unlock the file because I created the file and unlocked it, and it was locked. So as the editor, I can unlock the file if further edits need to be made. But you can see here, approved version, this is the last approved version, editors can unlock to make edits, comments, suggestions. We can see any of the details associated with that, like who was the approver, and when it was approved and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a kind of a nice, we've got a record there that that's all been approved and when it was approved. And so if I was to then unlock it, and I was to make a revision, it will still record that it's been approved in that previous state, but I might then have to ask for an approval again You see this is an approved version available, but this is now not going to be an approved version. So if I modified it, I would have to seek another approval if I wanted it to be approved, or we would just have an unapproved version. Hopefully you find that useful. I know that it's not going to be something everyone's going to have to use, but if within whatever you happen to be doing on a kind of a daily basis, you have a need to make sure that documents are checked and okayed by people at a given point before being publicized or shared, then I think it's a really useful tool for just managing that process and keeping it actually tied in with the doc rather than having a separate email trail that you then have to go and look up and see who said it was okay and at what point, and did they see the version that you're both talking about. This keeps it all nicely kind of wrapped up in one place, so it's dead easy to find. Hopefully that's useful to you.